Habba was automatically elevated to acting attorney pursuant to this law because anytime there's a vacant office, the first assistant slots into the vacancy.
Donald Trump tried to pressure, threaten, cajole, name-call Democrats, but he took his ball home and got nothing. Donald Trump caved and brought home nothing. Democrats stood strong, and Donald Trump faded away.
Alina Habba continues to fight, this time in an interesting little twist. A criminal defendant who is in her district, who's being prosecuted by her office, is filing a motion to dismiss in his case, saying Alina Habba is not even legitimate, so my entire criminal case now has to be dismissed. Now, what is interesting about this is it sets up this battle for many of these judges who are, as we know in New Jersey, very, very blue. They do not like Alina Habba. And so which way do they go? Do they come out and say Alina Habba is illegitimate, and so your criminal case gets dismissed, or you're free to go, or, you know, some sort of development there that results in a good deal? Or would they say Alina Habba is in fact valid, can continue to prosecute these cases, and criminals stay behind bars? Which one do they hate more, Alina Habba or criminals? We know the answer to that. It's Alina. So here is what this memo came down on last week, explaining that we're basically going to postpone the Alina Habba decision. But here's some background on what's happening, just so you're apprised of what's going on in New Jersey. These are defendants, okay? Julian and Julian, defendants at law. Says defendants in this criminal case, they moved to dismiss the indictment. They said Alina Habba is not a real attorney, all right? And any U.S. attorney who's acting at her direction is invalid because her whole appointment's invalid. They say she was illegally appointed, and this is in violation of the Appointments Clause, which is basically the same Jack Smith argument we made, that Jack Smith's not a real boy. Now, the Gerards are not entitled to the dismissal of the case, but if they are correct on the merits on this, the injunctive relief appears to be appropriate. All right, so they want to dismiss, but we're not going to dismiss it. All right, like, that's ridiculous. If Alina Habba is not on the case, your case is not going away, okay? We're just going to find a new prosecutor, so just chill out. But the motion to dismiss is denied in part and also deferred in part because we might have an injunction saying that your case can't be prosecuted for now until you get a new U.S. attorney in there, and then you might have some like speedy trial rights and other arguments for constitutional dismissals on that basis. Now, here's the background. Grand jury came out, indicted these two, Gerards, with drug firearms, and Selinger was the person who was originally handling it. They voice voted him in. Then their case proceeded. It's been going on for a while. As is standard practice, Biden ended, Selinger resigned, Trump posted saying Alina Habba is now in charge. We know the backstory on this, and Alina Habba was actually removed. But then they put in this other person, Desiree. Remember Desiree? She's like, I'm going to come in here and like do justice. Like, no, you're fired. Trump officials said Habba's term did not end until Friday. And so they conceived a multi-step maneuver to keep her in the U.S. attorney role, which is great. Because first of all, the Democrats are not complying at all in the Senate. They're not confirming anybody. So whatever. Says first, Habba's nomination here on July, the administration made 5 moves. This is great. First, Habba's nomination to the U.S. attorney was withdrawn. So that's one. Second, she resigned as interim. Third, Pam Bondi appointed Habba as special attorney to the AG under this provision of the U.S. Code, authorized her to conduct legal proceedings in New Jersey. Fourth, Bondi appointed Habba now to the vacant position of first assistant U.S. attorney because Desiree got fired. And then fifth, Habba was automatically elevated to acting attorney pursuant to this law because anytime there's a vacant office, the first assistant slots into the vacancy. And the vacancy in the U.S. attorney position that followed from her resignation moments earlier, she got elevated from interim U.S. attorney. Amazing. Now, Habba confirmed that. She said on X, she said, I'm now acting U.S. attorney. So read it and weep. So Miss Grace remained a loose end. Desiree, she got fired. Well, because she posted, she said, well, I'm going to accept that position anyways. And she says it's going to be valid under the law. So then the defendants, those guys criminally charged, filed the motion to dismiss. They said Alina Habba is invalid. And so we got a bunch of responses that have come in. And so your motion to dismiss is denied, but your motion for an injunction is deferred. Okay, so we're going to come back on that. Dismissal is not appropriate. That argument is unmoored from any legal hook. It doesn't automatically get dismissed. We'll just find the new prosecutor. Moreover, the basis for a court to dismiss the prosecution, right? This is not like a special counsel. This is just a regular U.S. attorney. Says here, a court may exercise its inherent supervisory authority to dismiss an indictment. Obviously not going to do that here. That would be a very very drastic remedy. And so the next question is, can Habba be enjoined? Can she be removed so that she can't actually do anything? Now, she says the answer, this judge, as to the first question, yes, I think that Alina Habba can be enjoined. Can the court bar her? And does a bar extend to other U.S. attorneys is the question. This judge says, well, maybe. She could be illegally appointed. They raise a separation of powers argument. There's no reason to limit this approach. And so here, the threat that Habba will exercise powers is impending, and she could exercise power. But here, this is a merits argument, and they're only entitled to no remedy if the court finds that the appointment is valid or that this can be delegated. Now, this has not been given enough time to develop. So the jurors have not yet been given serious response to this issue yet. And so I defer to resolve this today. So we won't get an answer on that, on whether this will happen until later. And so the motion to dismiss is deferred. And this comes from Matthew Brand out of Pennsylvania, Chief U.S. District Judge for Pennsylvania, presiding, probably conflicted off because of the other judges. So they sent it over to him. Alina Habba, of course, is fighting for her position there. And it was a light day at the White House today. Here was a little clip over from Fox.
Takes to go to hell. Schumer claims that even though nothing ultimately happened here, his side won.
Donald Trump tried to pressure, threaten, cajole, name-call Democrats, but he took his ball home and got nothing. Donald Trump caved and brought home nothing. Democrats stood strong, and Donald Trump faded away.
What the heck is he talking about? Democrats have nothing. They've lost everything.
And it's an unusually quiet day here at the Trump White House. We know the president and the vice president are having lunch right now in a private dining room, but we don't expect to see either of them today.
All right, so pretty quiet day out there, of course. The dockets are light. Supreme Court's out. Congress is out. Trump and JD having lunch together. And now we see Alina Habba fighting criminal defendants who want her off the case. We'll keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do.